Hey guys, Mr. Dalek JD here, and welcome to part 2 of my little kind of analysis of the bus driver and all of the quotes and locations that he tells you. Hope you guys enjoyed part 1. If you haven't seen part 1 of the driver analysis, which is actually part 4 of my actual TranZit storyline series, then there'll be an annotation on the top left where you'll be able to go and click that and watch the first part. This is just more looks at quotes and different locations. There's a third part as well coming out very soon, so be sure to look out for that. If you're new, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button down below, and also make sure to check out the description for links to my Twitter and Facebook fan page if you guys want to check those out. But if you're logged into a YouTube account, it'd be more than appreciative if you guys could give me a like rating. That would be the best thing you could ever do, and continue to support me as you guys are absolutely awesome. But anyway, enjoy.
Grand Canyon dead ahead. Now crossing the Grand Canyon.
Now, I'm pretty sure we all know what the Grand Canyon is. It's a steep-sided canyon carved by the Colorado River in the US in the state of Arizona. It's considered one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Now, you're probably thinking, why did he say that? Well, what I've looked at is that there's 2 different theories, or like little stories, that can link to the Grand Canyon being significant. One story is called the Lost City of the Dead, and the other is called an Indian legend. So let's start with a little brief roundup of the Lost City of the Dead. Well, perhaps the most amazing suppression of all is the excavation of an Egyptian tomb by the Smithsonian in Arizona. Now, a lengthy front-page story of the Phoenix Gazette on April 5th, 1909 gave a highly detailed report of the discovery and excavation of a rock-cut vault by an expedition led by a Professor S.A. Jordan. Now, he claims to have absolutely no knowledge of the discovery or its discoverers. So the report speaks of a guy called G.E. Kincaid, who believed himself to be the first white person born in Idaho. He was an explorer and hunter all of his life, and he was journeying down the Colorado River in a boat, all on his own, looking for minerals, when some 42 miles up the river from the El Tovar Crystal Canyon, he noticed some stains in the sedimentary formation above the riverbed 2,000 feet up. There was no trail to this point, but he reached it with some great difficulty. He goes into the canyon wall and finds a serious amount of stuff, which we're going to show you in pictures. I'm not going to read too much about it from his actual journal, but some of the stuff he's discovered is pretty interesting. Upon entering a passageway, he comes across this right here, which is found to be an idol or image of the people's god, sitting cross-legged with a lotus flower or lily in each hand. The cast of the face is oriental and it almost resembles Buddha, though the scientists are not certain as to what religious worship it represents. Taking into consideration everything found, it's possible that this worship most resembles the ancient people of Tibet. He also went on to find a tomb in which mummies were found in one of the largest of the chambers, and on these are tiers of mummies, each one occupying a separate hewn shelf, and at the end of each is a small bench on which copper cups and pieces of broken swords were found, and some of the mummies are covered with clay and all are wrapped in a bark fabric. And the second one is an Indian legend, which is in connection with this story. Notable that among the Hopi Indians, the tradition is told that their ancestors once lived in an underworld in the Grand Canyon till dissension arose between the good and the bad, the people of one heart and the people of two hearts. Macheto, who was their chief, counseled them to leave the underworld, but there was no way out. The chief then caused a tree to grow up and pierce the roof of the underworld, and then the people of one heart climbed out. They tarried by Passavai, which is the Colorado, Red River, and grew grain and corn. They sent out a message to the Temple of the Sun, asking the blessing of peace, goodwill, and rain for people of one heart. That messenger never returned, but today at the Hopi villages at sundown can be seen the old men of the tribe out on the housetops gazing towards the sun, looking for the messenger. When he returns, their lands and ancient dwelling place will be restored to them, and that is the tradition.
Now arriving Groom Lake. Last call for Groom Lake.
Now, Groom Lake is interesting because we've actually come across that before in Zombies, and well, basically Groom Lake is a salt flat in Nevada used for runways north of Area 51. That's right, my friends, Area 51. Now, what map was Area 51 in again? That's right, it's in Moon. And also, the historical town of Roswell was located here until evacuation of the US military. So a basic rundown of Area 51 is that it's a military base and a remote detachment of Edwards Air Force Base. It's located in the southern portion of Nevada, and it's situated at its center of the southern shore of Groom Lake is a large military airfield. The base's primary purpose is undetermined. However, based on historical evidence, it appears to support development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapons systems.
If you look out the windows on your right, ladies and gentlemen, you will see the beautiful Great Slave Lake, the cleanest freshwater lake in the region.
Great Slave Lake is the second largest lake in the Northwest Territories of Canada, and it's absolutely huge lake. I've got a picture up on the screen now of a map showing you how big it is, but Great Slave Lake actually coincides with a secret US military intelligence project known as Operation Morning Light. Operation Morning Light was a name given to the first phase of the search for the nuclear-powered Soviet satellite that accidentally re-entered the Earth's atmosphere over the Canadian tundra 1,000 miles north of Montana near the Great Slave Lake on 24th of January 1978. This was another secret cleanup of radioactive material, but this time not American radioactive material, Russian. On September 18th, 1977, the Soviet Union launched Cosmos 954, a nuclear-powered spy satellite. The satellite was 46 feet long and weighed over 4 tons. Within months of its launch, the US knew the satellite was in trouble. In December of that year, analysis determined Cosmos 954 was slipping out of orbit, and unless the Soviet Union took action, it would plummet to Earth. They further determined that if the Soviets could not gain control of the satellite, it would re-enter the atmosphere and crash somewhere in North America. Pressed by the Carter administration to divulge what exactly was on board the satellite, the Soviets admitted it carried 110 pounds of highly enriched uranium. At the direction of the CIA, the decision was made by the US government not to inform the public. The CIA knew a satellite carrying a live nuclear reactor was going to crash somewhere in North America, but believed that a centralized leak would disturb the public in unforeseeable ways, so the public was kept in the dark. When Cosmos 954 crashed, it struck across a large swath of ice in the Canadian tundra 1,000 miles north of Montana near the Great Slave Lake. The NEST team vans carrying the specialists were dispatched by C-130 transport to the crash scene. Dressed in yellow radiation suits and gas masks, the vans were disguised as bakery vans. As part of Operation Morning Light, the NEST team members searched over a 50 by 800 mile corridor for radioactive debris. After several months, 90% of the debris from Cosmos 954 was recovered. After the crash, however, officials calculated that if Cosmos 954 had one more orbit of the Earth before it crashed, it would have landed somewhere over the populated American East Coast.
Now approaching tunnel entrance for Dulce Base.
Dulce Base is an alleged secret alien underground facility near the town of Dulce, New Mexico in the United States. The claims of alien activity there first arose from Albuquerque businessman Paul Benowitz. In the early 60s, a subterranean nuclear blast occurred about 30 miles southwest of Dulce, New Mexico, right off of US 64. This nuclear blast was conducted under the umbrella of Project Flowshare and was named Gas Buggy. It's recently been alleged that this particular subsurface nuclear blast was used to create a hollowed-out chute or chimney for development of a substation for a super-secret tunnel system attached to an underground Black Book project base. In addition, several other sources who wished to remain nameless reported oddities in their work with Operation Flowshare during the 60s. The project was created under the guise of the use of atomic bombs during peacetime and forged ahead under the umbrella of natural gas exploration. In fact, several of these multi-kiloton blasts were used as a rapid way of developing huge subsurface chambers for facility development. It's reported that the technology to clean radiation is available and already in use for such projects. So in '78, tensions within the Dulce base were extremely heightened. Several security and lab technicians began to sabotage the genetic experiments. Increasingly frail nerves and paranoia finally erupted into what is commonly referred to as the Dulce Wars. It was a literal battle between the reptilians and the humans for the control of the Dulce base. It was the reptilians more than the humans that were pushing the big lie and insisted on using humans in their experiments, and those who did not survive the experiments were used as sources for the liquid protein tanks which fed both embryonic grey fetuses as well as full-grown greys as a source of nourishment. The initial Dulce War conflict began on level 3. Now what I've got on screen for you now is a series of screenshots, and this one's from the underground levels at Dulce. It references Nibiru's moon incoming to planet Earth. Got this one as well, which is supposedly meant to have an underground subway station which links it to many other destinations. Also got this poster here of the Grand Teton Mount in the Yellowstone National Park, so we got a bit of reference there to Yellowstone Park, as well as another one of the Illusion Islands, which is pretty awesome.